On Sunday, the 9th of March, 1952, Batista went to a political rally in Matanzas, 50 miles east of Havana, and gave a speech as if the only thing he was thinking about were the elections that were coming up a few months later in June.
Right.
Welcome back to the Cold War, episode 292. My name is Cameron Riley. With me is Ray Harris. In our last episode, Ray, where we finished, we talked about the fact that Batista, who had been in exile after his last political adventures, came back to the country in the late 40s, set up a political party, and was running for the presidential elections that were going to be happening in June of 1952. He was pretty confident he was going to win.
Yeah.
Until the polling came out and suggested that he had about as much chance of winning the elections as you have of being voted next Mr. Universe.
Unnecessary.
Which is to say that what? And so...
Ooh, pick me.
Yes, the shortest Mr. Universe in history. You and Danny DeVito go together.
It would be
and George Costanza.
It would be a close run thing. Would his? I think last time on the episode we were mentioning that he was polling about 10% somewhere. I mean, it was not going to happen. Would this have anything to do with the fact that and back in 1933, he had helped, if not started, a coup then? I mean, people like, coup me once, shame on me, coup me twice, shame on me. I don't know. But I mean, maybe people remember that because for this election, he even had a giant billboard wearing a very nice suit. And he said something like, "This is the man," obviously in Spanish. I mean, even the billboard wasn't happy. So the point is, maybe people were remembering his past actions. This guy's kind of cooey. You know what I'm saying? So do we want to vote him in? But you're right. I mean, he wasn't going to win, but he really wanted the position.
So on the 9th of March, he's acting like everything was normal, but privately, he had decided that he felt like a little bit of a coup.
Right.
He could feel a bit of a coup coming on. Again, another coup. Coup me once. Shame on you. Coup me twice. Won't get cooed again.
We won't get cooed again. Sorry. Go ahead.
In the evening of the 9th of March, he returned to his villa near Havana, and then shortly after midnight, 3 cars slipped quietly out of the villa.
Right.
Containing him, 6 serving military officers and 4 retired military officers, and they drove to Camp Columbia, which was a huge military barracks where a large chunk of the Cuban army was based, and probably not coincidentally, was the base where Batista had masterminded his first revolt 19 years earlier when he was the army typist. The officer on duty at the barracks was part of the plot, let them in.
Wink, wink.
And with his co-conspirators, he took command of the 4 infantry battalions in the barracks.
Yeah.
The houses of the top generals were surrounded and the generals were arrested. There is a story in most of the books covering this that the wife of General Cabrera, who was the chief of staff, urged her husband to resist.
Right.
And he said, "Old girl, when things have reached this stage, all is lost."
I like that. Follow-up question.
When they're arresting the top generals, you're pretty much out of game.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm trying to think of a point in my life when I can ever call my wife old girl and not lose parts of my body.
You're not Cuban though. You got to be.
You
Cuban
know what?
To get away with that.
You bring facts. You bring facts. Oh no, and I'm sure you know this, but one of the books, because you had like 5 listed, something like that. One of the books was talking about, and I'd never heard of this book before, called The Technique of the Coup d'etat. It was written in 1931 by Cuzio Malaparte. And it's like Baptista read this. I have no idea if he did read it or not. But one of the parts of the book goes, a successful coup does not rely on mass popular support. It depends on seizing the key nerve centers of a state, military headquarters, communications, government buildings, quickly and decisively, ideally before the government can react. And as we're about to find out, Batista, he didn't just, get up and wipe the night cold cream from his face and say, yeah, let's do a coup. This was thought out to the nth degree. They had, like you said, people in place, the guard at the gate. They've got this thing thought out. They've got people ready to go. And while everybody else is sleeping, Batista makes his move.
Yeah, Curzio Malaparte, Italian fascist author, supporter of Mussolini. He wrote that book that was basically a study of the Russian Revolution and also that of Italian fascism.
Right.
He stated in the book that the problem of the conquest and defense of the state is not a political one, it is a technical problem. Basically, you had to know how to occupy the key nerve centers, as you said.
Right.
He emphasized Leon Trotsky's role in organizing the October Revolution technically, while Lenin was more involved in strategy. Trotsky was interested in taking control of the things that mattered. And this is what he does, he being Batista. So a phone call was made to other officers that were involved in the plot at another major fort, La Havana, which was at the mouth of Havana Harbor, the main naval headquarters, and other key command posts. They all took control of those sites as well. Police Lieutenant Salas, supposedly one of the two officers against whom Castro had lodged a criminal suit for the responsibility for the death of a worker killed in a demonstration some months before that, took over the central telephone exchange, and because of that, his men were able to listen to telephone calls between the presidential palace and the government offices, so they knew what was going on there.
Right.
And then over the next few hours, troops and police moved into bus and railway stations, airports, electricity plants, radio transmission centres. All entrances to ministries and political party headquarters were sealed. Soldiers turned away anyone trying to enter them. Police were given a list of politicians and known agitators who were to be detained until the situation had been stabilised. And it all went down remarkably quietly.
Right.
Until they got to the presidential palace. But up until that point, everything went relatively smoothly. No blood was shed. The arrested generals all went quietly, but General Cabrera's wife managed to telephone her daughter.
Oh, God.
Whose boyfriend telephoned the presidential palace.
Ooh.
With the news of the takeover in Camp Columbia.
Right.
Message got to the president, Prio, who drove from his residence to the palace and summoned his cabinet colleagues, and they together tried to find out what was happening at the other military bases around the island. A couple of the colonels of some of the military garrisons at Matanzas and La Villas telephoned to say that they were still loyal. Batista, because his guys controlled the telephone exchange, knew that Prio was trying to get support from these other bases, so he sent a small squad to the palace, supposedly to strengthen the guard. But the guard suspected that the soldiers had come to arrest the president because they knew what was going on.
Right.
And shot the lieutenant commanding them.
Damn. I didn't.
Batista then sent in tanks that surrounded the palace. And around about this stage, a student delegation headed by the Student Union president, the FEU president, arrived to urge President Prio to resist the coup. Prio said he would resist, but from one of the loyal garrisons,
Right.
because the palace was too vulnerable. The students then asked the president to give them arms so they could help defend him. He said he would send a consignment of weapons to the university, so they all returned to the university, waited for the weapons, which, like your honorary knighthood, never arrived.
They're still waiting.
Prio and his prime minister were driven towards Matanzas, military garrison that they believed was still loyal. But when they got there, they found out the garrison commander had been arrested by Batista's officers. So they drove on to Camagüey, but before arriving there, learned that supporters of the coup had taken control of that garrison as well. So they turned back towards Havana and sought asylum in the Mexican embassy, where they discovered several government ministers were already hiding out there.
And all the podcasters.
So by
go ahead.
early in the morning of the 10th of March, it was pretty much all over. Bloodless coup, more or less. A couple of guys shot at the presidential palace, stoush, but it was all over. The leadership of the Trade Union Confederation declared a general strike in protest of the coup, but it seems to have had little effect. I think general confusion, and Batista's people controlled the media, controlled the telephone exchanges, controlled all the means of mass communication. So apart from standing on the street and climbing up on something and giving a speech,
which is going to happen,
it was very hard to get the word out.
Yeah.
It is going to happen.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Havana went about business as if nothing unusual was going on. Now, look, we've talked about this many times over the years in our other shows, particularly our Rome show. You know, from the perspective of most people, I think it's a bit like that with elections these days. One bunch of corrupt motherfuckers is just the same as another bunch of corrupt motherfuckers, right?
Yes.
To the average person in the street.
Yeah.
Particularly when you've been through a long period of corruption and violence, you're just like, well, they're all, it's exactly the same as you hear during elections, right? Well, they're all as bad as each other. Both major parties are equally useless and corrupt, so who gives a fuck?
Right.
People become apathetic really quickly
Yes.
in situations where you genuinely believe, based on experience, that none of them are really in it for you. They're all corrupt. So that could have been what was going on in Havana at this stage. People were just over it. But, one person who was not over it is one of my favorite people from the 20th century,
right?
As we all know. Fidel.
Yeah.
So on the morning of the 10th, Fidel was asleep. He slept through all of this.
Right.
Obviously. Had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. On the morning of the 10th of March, one of his friends called him up and told him about the coup.
Right.
Now, if you're Fidel Castro and you hear that Batista is doing a coup, what's the first thing you think, Ray?
First of all, you get a little wood. It's not more. I mean, because we've discussed it in the past. This guy he's a political animal. He loves talking for hours, way into the morning. Philosophy and all that kind of stuff, even to the point where he's kind of abandoning his family. This is his thing, and so the fact that something has finally happened. Don't get me wrong, something bad. But I imagine the first thing he's going to want to do is react. He's going to want to talk about it. He's going to want to gather. I'm not sure what he specifically did. I don't know. But I mean, this is his Churchill moment when the Germans invade. I mean, it's just this is what he's been living for. He's like, aha, I told you. And so I don't know. I imagine he's quite worked up about it. But he seems like he was worked up most of the time anyways.
You don't know. We're doing a show.
I know. The irony does not escape me.
3 weeks to prepare for, but you don't know.
I know. I know.
That's what you're confessing to here on the show.
Oh, I have no pride. If you're trying to shame me, those days are gone. You're embarrassing yourself.
We all.
Yeah. No one's
we've
more
all worked
upset.
that out.
No one's more upset than I am.
No.
But I will say this real quick, because I'm glad you touched on the apathy, because we don't know to what degree that played a role. But it doesn't matter if you're apathetic. If like you said a minute ago, if you don't even know, because when the people woke up, they turn on their radios, because this is 1952. You have radios. There was no news. There was no good news. There was no bad news. There was no news. It was just all music going on. And so there's a lot of people, if you're outside of a Havana, you don't know what the fuck's going on. For you, it's just another normal day. And that's kind of what Batista was counting on, people just getting on with their lives. But I imagine Castro had a quite different reaction when his friend called him up.
Well, his first instinct apparently is that he was probably a very likely candidate to be arrested by the new military government.
Good point.
Which turned out to be correct. So the first thing he did was put on a Groucho mask disguise and sneak out of his apartment, walked a few blocks to the flat of his half-sister, Lydia. His brother Raul his younger brother, was also staying at the flat. He was still an enrolled student, and he went to the university to find out what was going on.
Right.
So when the military police came to arrest Fidel at his place, only his wife Mirta and his child, little Fidelito, were present.
Right.
So they say, "Where is he?" She goes, "I have no idea." They leave. And from his half-sister's flat, Castro is trying to find out what's going on. But information, as you said, is not really forthcoming, apart from there has been a coup. At midday, the radio station stopped playing music and announced the formation of the new government, composed mainly of old Batista stalwarts from his earlier administrations in the 40s.
Right.
Batista had tried to find a respectable civilian politician who would be willing to front the coup as president, but no one was willing to do it. And to be honest, not many respectable civilians to be found at this point. So he just decides to do it himself.
I'll do
He's
it.
He's gonna be the man.
Yeah.
His poster says, "This is the man."
Yeah. Literally.
It turned out it was right. Yeah, he was the man.
He looks good in a suit. You have to admit.
L'homme.
He looks, because I looked up several photos. He looks good in a suit. He's got his hair slicked back. Not the worst looking gent in the world.
There was, not long after this happened, like in 1953, he hired an American journalist to write like a biography of him.
Right.
For, I think, mostly international publication. We'll cover this in later episodes, but the guy does talk a lot in that about how charming and magnetic and how much charisma Batista had. And I believe it. I've seen video footage of him. He was a very charismatic guy, short, but big smile, good smile,
Right.
Looked the part.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen The Godfather Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen The Godfather Part 2?
Seen them all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So you know the Batista character in that, when he's holding a meeting with all of the major business partners,
Right.
and Michael Corleone is there.
Yeah.
I think that guy does a pretty good job in that film
Smile.
of playing
Yeah.
Batista. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the government issues a declaration saying they're going to put an end to a regime of crime and corruption.
Thank God.
And they claimed that they had to do the coup because President Priot was about to do a coup himself.
Son of a...
To retain power by unconstitutional
Right,
means. They
yes.
said, "Oh, he was going to coup. We had to coup before he couped. We had to coup, but the coup.
Pre-coup. We pre-couped the coup.
Pre-coup.
That's right. Yeah. Coups are bad, but pre-coups are okay.
Does it sound familiar?
Huh.
We had to do a coup because he was going to make himself king.
He was going to do something bad, so I did something bad before he could do something bad. You're goddamn welcome. All right. So you're right. The next day he addresses. He's like, "Look, no. You don't understand. I'm the provisional president. I'm not even like painting my name on where I parked my car. I am barely going to be here for a while. Now I am going to have to cancel the presidential elections because I'm here now. You don't need those. But the point is, this is temporary. Don't believe what you see or hear. Believe my words."
It reminds me of what happened when the conspirators murdered Caesar.
Right,
Well,
well,
we had to do it because he was gonna
much worse.
He was gonna make himself king.
Yes,
he'd already been declared dictator for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they provided no evidence
Right.
that he was going to do anything. Now, there's no debating that the Priot government was corrupt, as all of the governments in Cuba had been.
Right.
But there was no evidence that Priot was about to
do
anything untoward in the election.
Exactly.
So the new government did say there would be congressional and presidential elections, not in June, but in November.
Of that same year?
No, 1953. Yeah. A year, 18 months later or more. Now,
gonna be.
Meanwhile, constitutional guarantees like the right to strike and to engage in political activities were suspended.
Right.
Congress was dissolved. But, and this is a pretty smart move.
Yeah.
congressmen would continue to receive their salaries.
Ooh, smart. Now, I don't want you meeting and I don't want you talking. In fact, he had his soldiers make sure that the congressmen and their staffs could not gather to discuss, but your check will still arrive in your mailbox like it always does.
Yeah.
So don't worry. I got you. Don't worry about it.
Just stay home.
Just stay home.
Don't pay. Yeah.
Speaking of checks, did you want to tell them about the, I don't know, what's the word, raise that Batista gave himself? Because again, he's going to be working hard for the people. He deserves to wet his beak, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's later in my notes. We'll get to that.
Sorry. Yeah.
But again, it reminds me of Rome. You know, we saw this in ancient Rome after, really from, I guess, Caesar onwards, but mostly from Augustus onwards.
Yes.
There's still a Senate, but
yeah.
they're really only there.
You're like backdrop. You know, it's like in the painting, you're just back there somewhere. Yeah.
We still have a Senate.
Yeah.
Yes, we still have senators. We still have a Senate.
Right.
It's wonderful. They're the best Senate ever. They're a great Senate. They're a wonderful Senate.
Everybody tells me they're the best. Yeah.
People tell me, they're the best Senate.
Well, then you can also say,
but they had nothing to do.
Right. You can say, I've consulted with the Senate. I mean, you didn't, but you can say that. Did I kill the senators? Yeah. No, look, they're right there. They're not doing anything. No. But now, you mentioned Rome, and I completely agree with you. To me, this is like a very, very light version of the Night of the Long Knives in Nazi Germany, when the SA is getting too big for its britches and they're causing, they're like, it's almost like Napoleon. They just want to keep the revolution going. They just want to keep killing. They just want to keep, terrorizing the elites. And so then the man with the funny mustache has a list of names drawn up and said, okay, these are the people that I need to not be here tomorrow when I wake up. Whereas Batista said, hold them, detain them. Once everything stabilizes, then you can let them go. But so it's like a light version of that. Here's a list of people that are getting in the way of what I want. But you're absolutely right. It's Rome over, especially the year of the four emperors. Everything is up for grabs. Literally everything is up for grabs. Why should I not take power if I can?
Who's that guy who's the woman who put together the job statistics numbers?
Oh, yeah.
She's gone.
She's gone.
Get rid of her.
Yeah, bad news. You know what this is? So don't give me bad news, even if it's true. I love this. I scare the shit out of everybody by sacrificing one person. Even though it's truthful, do not tell me if I don't want to hear it. The man knows what he's doing. I mean, he's the CEO. He's a president, for God's sake. He knows how to do that. No. Not really.
Tony was asking me this about on the QAV show, like historical precedents for what Trump's doing, and
killing the messenger.
I say, it reminds me most of Stalin, right? You end up with a culture where facts, logic,
they better fit what I want.
If they don't fit with the ideology, then they can't be used. People start to bury them, hide them.
Fake news.
You end up with an administration that gets bogged down in trying to tell the president what he wants to hear, not what's really going on.
And outdoing each other. Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I think that happens all of the time in American administrations. I think that happened under Democratic presidents as well as Republican presidents to varying degrees. They're maybe not firing labor statisticians.
Yeah.
But,
they do
talking about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and NATO and all of that kind of stuff, I'm pretty sure Biden, to what level Biden actually knew what day of the week it was, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that, there was a version of events that fit with the preferred narrative that he was being given versus what's really going on. So I think it always happens. It's just levels of degrees, but when it gets to the point where you're firing people for coming up with numbers that you don't like,
right?
That's getting pretty extreme.
Exactly.
Anyway, back to Batista. So around about this time, on the first day, the 10th, Castro hears that Roberto Agramonte, the new leader of the Ortodoxo party, remember, so Castro was a candidate for the Orthodox party.
Right.
That had been led by Eduardo Chibas, who had killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
the new leader, Agramonte, announces that he would condemn the coup. The party would condemn the coup, but would only use non-violent civic resistance, and had really no guidance for the party and how they should respond to this.
Right.
Now, I want to remind people that up until the coup, it looked like the Orthodox Party were going to win these elections in 1953. Castro was a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the new leadership of the party didn't want to support him as a candidate, so he printed his own flyers and was distributing his own flyers and doing his own groundwork.
And the people elected him.
And he was popular.
Yes, absolutely.
He was popular. Castro, had a brand. He had a name already at this stage as a political agitator. Very charismatic as well. Very well spoken. Loved to speak. Loved the sound of his own voice. When he hears that the party's not going to do anything, really, he flew into a rage, called Agramonte a coward.
Yeah.
And then he gets even angrier when he learns how quickly Batista had succeeded in neutralizing pretty much opposition across the board on the island. The trade unions basically gave in. Some of the more militant were arrested, but then Batista sent a message to the Secretary General of the Trade Union Confederation saying that they would respect the rights of trade unions. They weren't allowed to strike.
Right.
But outside of that, they were, they would still get paid. People would get looked after. And the trade union, just made a pragmatic political decision, realpolitik decision that the best course of action was to just do business as usual with the new government.
Right. I can resist and probably get beat up, killed, whatever, my friends or for my family, or I could go along and keep getting paid and take care of my family. Not a perfect situation, but as you said, most of the people said, yeah, okay, I could do that.
And there may have been some dinero in brown paper bags that went to the leadership of the unions, as there often are in these situations.
Where's our paper bag? God damn it. Why don't people pay us off to shut us the fuck up? You know why? I'll tell you why. Because there's only 7 of you bastards out there listening to us. If it was like 9, maybe 12.
12. That's the magic number, I think, 12.
Everybody
20 years we've been working at this just to get to that big magic 12 number.
Everybody who's listening, tell a friend. And I bet we will get to that 12. Can I ask something real quick? So I think Batista knows that as long as the military, or at least most of it, is on his side, there's really no entity. There's no power that people can rise up and maybe they can grab some sticks or some machetes or whatever, and they can try to fight us. But the army's got the weapons. As long as the army's with him, as bloody as it may get, he's going to win. I think when he's doing all these things, he's got one eye on the locals. I'm telling you what you want to hear to a degree. But the other eye is on the Americans. He's never forgetting who is the one power that could truly rip him out of the scene. I guess we'll get to this later, but he's got to be thinking about the audience of one, maybe in the White House. I don't know, Truman, but I just think that he's saying these things that he's got to say to the people, but at the same time, it's got to be pleasing to the ears and Americans. Look, I'm going to calm everything down. There's the workers are still going to show up every day. They're going to still work hard. We're going to respect your money. You're still going to get paid. And so again, I think he's doing everything right. He's hitting on all cylinders. It happened the coup was technically over in an hour and 17 minutes. I mean, and this is his second time doing this. Batista knows what he's doing, and it's running pretty smoothly.
Yeah, he's getting good at this coup business. I mean, like anything else, you need to work at.
You wait till the third time, under 30 minutes or less, like Domino's Pizza. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I laugh, but we joke, but I still believe that the United States is on track for coup conditions. So, pay attention to this, people, and see.
Coup or civil war.
Yeah.
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 Because we're all going to redistrict.
Pay attention and see.
We're all going to redistrict
our
states. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but we're all going to redistrict our states. We're not going to agree with what other people do. It's going to lead to fisticuffs. I think it's more 51% civil war, 49% coup, but something. There's got to be a break.
Well,
somewhere.
one is often, part of the other,
Good
right?
point.
Coup leads to civil war, or
Yeah.
civil war leads to a coup.
Yeah.
I've been paying attention to what's happening in Texas this week,
Right.
where all the Democrats left the state to prevent the gerrymandering vote, and now they've been warrants issued for the arrest of all the Texas Democrats.
And the FBI's helping hunt them down. I mean, Jesus Christ. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's great. Doesn't look at all like a third world country. Back to Castro. So,
Please.
realizing that his half-sister's flat was probably an obvious hideout spot, he decided to spend the night at a cheap boarding house where he'd stayed when he was a student.
Right.
And then the next morning, he and his friend Rodriguez took a bus to the flat of another Orthodox Party activist, Eva Jimenez, who lived in a quiet middle-class suburb. And he spent the next couple of days there drafting a proclamation denouncing the coup, and it's called Revolucion no Zarpazzo. Revolucion no Zarpazzo. Now, nobody knows more about Spanish than you, Ray. Explain to people what Zarpazzo is.
You're not going to believe this, but the one Spanish word that I don't know is zapazzo. I think it's a noodle. No. Pasta. No. Tell me about it.
Well, listen, my Spanish isn't as good as my Italian, but zarpazzo is a swipe or a blow with a paw. Think of a lion
Right.
swiping at its prey and just clawing it and knocking it down. That's what a zarpazzo is. So apparently this means, no, this isn't a revolution that
Attack or something.
Batista's doing.
Right.
It's a violent attack at the country.
Exactly.
The theme of his proclamation, which I read, is basically saying, look, this is not a true revolution aimed at establishing social justice and honest government, but just a naked grab for political power, like a lion attacking a small animal. And he called for active resistance against Batista's coup.
Right. He's going to quick.
So,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm going to finish the episode here, but I'm going to say that just to clarify Castro's career up until this point, student activist, political activist, had been running in the election. Like his first attempt at playing a role in Cuba's political future was running for an election, which didn't happen because there was a military coup in the country. In our next episode, we will see that his next step was to take legal action as a lawyer against the Batista coup, and we'll see where that ended up.